Chiron stations retrograde on July 27th at 23 degrees of Aries. This is new territory for Chiron, and the wounded healer asteroid will travel back to 19 degrees of Aries until the end of December 29th. So between 19 and 23 degrees of Aries in your chart is where you are unraveling parts of yourself that are no longer your truth, that are no longer connected to who you really are. Now, in Aries, you can build up a false sense of self before knowing who you really are. Part of the Aries energy is to have the courage to be independent, to go it alone, to trust yourself, to follow an adventure, and to use that big creative urge towards something worthwhile and meaningful. With Chiron here in Aries, where Chiron has been since 2018, we are unraveling the false self, the false ego. We are being guided into the deeper layers of ourselves, where we actually have some unconscious injuries and soul wounds to work through, and to understand how maybe those parts of ourselves have been shielded, how we have hidden them from ourselves or from others. Chiron is often an invitation into the vulnerabilities and insecurities that we don't want others to see. But at a higher level, Chiron wants you to see them in yourself, to at least accept parts of yourself that aren't maybe what you would at first choose, but would show you more of the truth of who you are, so that you can love and accept yourself as is. We all have imperfections. We all have vulnerabilities and insecurities. We all have parts of ourselves that, we're privately working through and understanding. Chiron is also where we're actually invited to look at, where have you tried to go it alone, but you actually need support. And that can be hard for the Aries spirit that wants to do it on its own timeline, in its own way. But Chiron calls in the healers, calls in the therapists, the support systems, the energy workers. Chiron wants you to know that you don't have to do it all alone, but there are things here that you're learning about yourself that you also could be too caught up in, because Chiron in Aries can be too subjective and lack objectivity, or lack the understanding that what you're feeling is actually universal. So for example, we don't often want to be vulnerable, right? Like, we don't want to be vulnerable perhaps in friendships or relationships, or there's parts of ourselves we don't want other people to see. So maybe we put up a shield, or we do something to hide it. But Chiron actually shows you that, guess what? You're just like everyone else who wants to avoid their vulnerabilities, or who has things they don't want others to know about. So this Chiron in Aries is learning how to detach, how to be more objective, how to understand that it's actually through other people and opening up to them that the real healing begins, especially if you thought it wasn't safe to be yourself. So allow this Chiron retrograde to guide you into more of your truth, into more of what you're actually learning to accept in yourself, and to remind you that you're just like everyone else in more ways that you realize, and that could be quite comforting as well.